We have been learning about the US-Soviet competition in Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America. Today we are going to wrap that up by talking about the collapse of the Soviet Union. Take time now to pause the video and write down the objectives. Please pay extra attention to the words that are bolded. These are important terms. You will be writing an essay in the next class and will be asked to discuss those terms and phrases, so please take notes. There were several things that led to the collapse of the Soviet Union, but there are a few really important ones. One would be a weakness in the economy. The Soviet Union had once been a command economy. A command economy is a system where the state directs the economy. Eventually, a guy named Mikhail Gorbachev decided to allow a limited capitalism, which is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. This led to the term glasnost, which means openness. All of a sudden, people were allowed to speak more freely about their concerns with the Soviet government. This opportunity for criticism had long been gone from this area. Books were no longer banned, and newspapers were allowed to print criticisms of the government. And political parties could now participate in elections, not just communist. All of that prompted Gorbachev to undertake something called perestroika, which is an economic restructuring project allowing more capitalism. Companies could be privately owned now. Workers were able to strike for better wages and conditions, and foreign countries could invest in Soviet companies. With all of that possible now, there was a lack of control due to unrest in many parts of the Soviet Union. Due to the oppression of Gorbachev's predecessors, many people, when given the chance to raise their voices, began to question their part of a regime they did not agree with. This would lead to many revolutions across Eastern Europe. Another problem would be the burdens of Soviet military commitments. The Soviet Union, during its collapse, found itself extremely divided. The newfound lack of oppression exhibited by Gorbachev led to many nationalistic movements to take place. That meant people were advocating for different parts of the Soviet Union to break off from it altogether. Some of the movements were Lech Wałęsa's Solidarity movement in Poland, Václav Havel's revolt in Czechoslovakia, and a revolution in Romania. For the most part, these were non-violent, with the exception of the revolution in Romania. Eventually, the weaknesses in the economy, the burdens of the military commitments, and more led to a collapse of the Soviet Union. In December of 1991, the Soviet Union disintegrated into 15 separate countries. Here we see a map of the 15 newest countries in 1991. Please take a minute to pause the video and write down the names of these post-Soviet countries. Remember to bring your notes from this video to class, and we will wrap up a couple of things before you write your essays.